Hi everyone, it's Elizabeth from Elpis Astrology at elpisastrology.com. Thanks for joining me today. So today I am going to do my interpretation of the astrology in the year ahead for 2023. I'm going to start off with, as the usual, an introduction to sort of lay the sort of appearance of what I see the astrology as, just generally speaking, and then I'll go into each of your ascendants and or sun signs as to what I feel is important for you in 2023. Now, interestingly, I am making this video just prior to that total full moon lunar eclipse that will be happening on the 8th of November 2022. So if you're listening to this early on, and when I publish this, which will probably be after, the publishing of this will be after the eclipse for sure. Just FYI, it does take a few days to process these videos. It's not just you make it and put it on YouTube. So I will discuss what I feel has happened, etc., at that eclipse and the fallout from it and potential meaning in the future in my December monthly video. All right, so let's get straight to it. Now, I personally feel, as an overarching sort of not theme, but sort of feeling of this 2023, we've got a lot of planets that are changing signs. And I feel that this 2023 could actually be a very positive year, just generally speaking from a collective level, where we actually see big changes happening that are positive. And then, of course, that translates down to an individual level. And I'll cover all that, as I said, in the individual signs. All right, so let's start going into some of the shifting, the ingresses. So when we talk about an ingress, we're just talking about a planet going into, ingressing into a sign. So that's what we mean when we say that. So let's start off with Jupiter. So when we look at Jupiter, Jupiter's a 12-year cycle. So every 12 years, Jupiter's going to come around, right, to whatever sign it is in at that time. Now, Jupiter will go back into Aries towards literally the last few days of 2022, but it'll be fully in Aries starting in January 2023, right the way through mid-month of May 2023. So it's really just there for just under half the year. Certainly if you've got your Jupiter in Aries, you know, this is what's called your Jupiter return year. It's a very lucky year. Like Saturn, Jupiter tends to leave its big gifts and benefits towards the end of when it's finishing off in the sign, not necessarily at the beginning. Sometimes with Jupiter, what happens is events happen or things happen to you that are also unexpected, but somehow shift something for you, especially in terms of where you're supposed to be growing, right? Jupiter as an essence and an influence is really asking us, wherever it is in your chart by transit, to grow there, to expand ourselves, especially from a higher standpoint, right? But it can be like Santa Claus and bring you lots of gifts and benefits. All right, so for those that do have Jupiter in Aries, enjoy that first 6 months or so of 2023. And then, of course, Jupiter goes into Taurus. And this, I think, really will smooth over a lot of Taurians and Taurian ascendances' feathers for not only the rest of 2023, so it's mid-May. It's actually the 17th of May, 2023, Jupiter will ingress into Taurus. And it will stay there till the 25th of May, 2024. I just see this as a really positive influence, not only for Taurians and Taurian ascendants, but for sure for those folks that have been going through Uranus upsets, changes, and just real surprising things popping out of the woodwork. This Jupiter coming in here should really smooth things over and make things just a lot better, bring benefits where there were none, maybe even bring in some money for those folks that need that too, and really maybe help you grow in this area, generally speaking. We take it to a collective level. We're really looking here at growth probably in our money markets and maybe specifically in the real estate, Now, I mentioned in a previous video that there's going to be potentially in November 2022, that line in the sand where in the real estate market and maybe even in investments, things are going to take a little bit of a turn where there's a readjustment. But this now Jupiter going into Taurus has us maybe literally building more things. Construction could start increasing at this time because, of course, Taurus is the master builder, right? But certainly crops and that sort of thing could take on some new type of growth spurt where maybe we're looking differently at the way we grow our food. And certainly just from a standpoint of Jupiter being international, there may be some need for growth internationally regarding food and foodstuffs, right? Especially from mid-May onwards into, the end of May, basically 2024. But anyway, for all those Taurians, this could be something absolutely fabulous for you. And if I were to pick a month, I would pick May 2023 as a really outstanding month with regards to real solid, when we look at Taurus, it's a very solid sign. It moves slowly. It likes to get things right. It's persistent. And so we've got other things happening that will be, reinforcing this whole Jupiter in Taurus. And that's going to be, we're going to have a full moon that's going to be happening towards the end of May. But we also have an eclipse. Actually, it's a new moon, but there's a full moon that's going to happen in Scorpio, also in May. And a full moon, of course, says that the sun's going to be in Taurus. So I'd say May time period, there could be some big shifts on a collective level as well as from an individual level for those certainly that are Taurus or Taurus ascendances. So when we go up and look at Saturn, Saturn's also going to be changing signs. It's going to ingress into Pisces. And so I think this is beautiful too. If we look at Pisces operates at a very high level with regards to really our spiritual outlook on life, looking at things very compassionately. On the extreme end, martyrdom could come up. So there has to be care taken with regards to feeling you're under this obligation. So that's kind of on the negative side. This Saturn in Pisces could say you're obligated to do this. And certainly if you have something that aspects your chart, you might want to, think about that. It's great to be able to contribute to charities and to offer your services, but at the same time, you have to balance your life, right? And bring your own spirituality in to benefit you too. Now, of course, at this time, we're also going to have Neptune is still in Pisces too. So we've got these both out of the planets here, really pulsating away. They're not conjunct in 2023, and so they're operating separately, but they're still influencing spirituality, compassion, charity, that type of thing. Now, the other thing I thought with this Saturn in Pisces was also, Pisces can also rule that realm of drugs and alcohol and just living in a fantasy world too, right? And I thought I love this Saturn in here because it's going to be bringing a reality check. And my hope is that we're going to have some real treatments available for those folks, either from a psychiatric standpoint and or maybe drugs and alcohol, where we're going to see some real progress and some more permanent structures in place that can actually assist those that need it in those areas. I felt very optimistic about that. Now, Saturn takes, in terms of a cycle, Saturn is a 30-year cycle. So every 30 years, approximately, it will be coming round. So in 30 years' time, from 2023, it'll come round again into Pisces. But it won't have Neptune there. And Saturn is about a 2.5-year cycle. So we know that from 2023, we're going to have Saturn in Pisces for about 2.5 years, influencing that sign. So certainly for Pisces that maybe needed some structure, or Pisces ascendants, needed maybe some structure into their lives, this could be your answer, where, or you get some more permanent things happening in whatever area of your life is coming up with the Saturn influence, right? So Saturn ingresses into Pisces on the 8th of March, 2023, till mid-February 2026. And what's interesting in that time period where it ends being in Pisces, February 2026, we'll just at that time also have Neptune going into Aries. And I'll talk about that at a later time. That I see as the spiritual warrior, Neptune going into Aries. So if we look at the last time, certainly that we had Saturn here into Pisces, it was in February 1994. So certainly you can look back to see what was going on in February 1994 and for the 2+ years that it stayed in Pisces, and see maybe what themes came up for you, or maybe what structures were put in place, maybe even new responsibilities that you had. So some folks, it'll be maybe you got married, or you had your first child or second child, and that child now 30 years later is making their own way in life. As always, I love to hear from people, especially with long transits like this, 30-year transits. It's always useful to hear people comment, because you never know when you're actually helping somebody else, not just giving information, but helping other people that are viewers on my channel. So, in terms of what aspects Saturn may be causing from a positive and negative standpoint over its 2.5-year period in Pisces, we have squares that will be going to both Gemini and Sagittarius. So Saturn will be, at some point providing some challenges, but I always say those challenges are just asking you to think outside the box for Geminis and Sagittarius. For Virgos, of course, this is going to be an opposition for you. So, and I'll talk about this as an individual signs, but just generally speaking, it could have you having to deal with superiors, rules and regulations. Now for Cancers and Scorpios, we've got a trine happening here with Saturn. So if you've got your ascendant, sun, or a big conglomeration of planets, which I have in either Cancer or Scorpio, you can expect some real assistance here that you've not seen for 30 years with regards to either, rules and regulations working for you, or you setting down structures in your life that really work to support you, right? Those trines are there to support you. And so that's a good thing, right? Now, when we look at two other signs, we look at Taurus and Capricorn. There are sextiles that are formed to your sign with this Saturn in Pisces. And so this is a little lighter in terms of influence compared to a trine, but it provides you opportunities, should you choose to accept them. What are those opportunities? It could be opportunities to work with more senior people. It could be opportunities for you to put structures down in your life, but you have a choice. Do you want to do it or not? It could literally have, especially some Taurians, building things at this time where you get the green light to build your own home or to renovate your own home as well. But Capricorns will also have opportunities here too. It can also be new responsibilities. This may also be happening to some Taurians and Capricorns, where you have to take on additional responsibilities in your life. And this doesn't have to be a bad thing, right? It could be something like somebody gets pregnant and you have this welcome child that is now a potential in your life at this time. All right, moving down to Pluto. So Pluto is probably, Saturn's big too, but Pluto, really is a long-acting thing here. That's well over 250 years. We'll just leave it at round figures, but it's over 250 years in terms of it coming around to come into your chart again. So for the vast majority of people, if not all people, Pluto going into Aquarius is a once-in-a-lifetime thing in your lifetime, right? And so this happens on the 24th of March, 2023 to 2044. So it's a pretty long influence that we have here. I just see this as very positive too. Pluto going into Aquarius is really having us transforming a whole lot of things that are Aquarian. At its base, it will be transforming society and bringing it to a higher level. Enlightenment of how we should be treating each other is going to transform, right? I'm going to be more positive with regards to people being treated more equally here. But Aquarius also rules literally outer space and anything scientific. So I would say there's going to be great progress and great transformation with regards to our understanding of not only outer space, but science and anything in that realm that we don't know about yet. We're going to be enlightened over those years between 2023 and 2044. So stay tuned for what stuff we've not seen yet, right? Literally, we've not seen yet. That will help transform our world. Now, previously, a significant time period where we had Pluto in Aquarius was kind of around what was called a period of enlightenment. It was the US and French Civil War. I've already done a video on Pluto ingressing into Aquarius. I'll put the link down here below, and I went through all the sun signs and ascendants as well. I think you'll really enjoy it. I really tried to dig into some significant history as well to help people understand, at least get an idea of what might be ahead for you. Now, in terms of what effect this is going to have on different signs, Pluto going into Aquarius, first and foremost, is going to be opposing Leo ascendants, Leo suns, conglomeration of planets in Leo, but it really takes its time. So, I mean, Pluto in 2023 will barely get into 0 degrees and some minutes of Aquarius. It's really not going to be to the following year, 2024, 2025, that we really have Pluto exerting the effect. But make no mistake about it, my analysis tells me that we are going to see some big changes in 2023 with regards to how people are in our society are treated, right? There's going to be a bigger emphasis on fairness and tangibly being able to see that, right? Okay, so for you, Leo, this is going to have an effect of you having to deal with things probably from a standpoint of your partner. I'll get into it in your sun sign, but we'll just leave it at that. Now, when we look at squares, we're looking at a square to Taurus and, of course, to Scorpio. Now, as I said, this takes a long time for Pluto to start exerting effects. So unless you've got something at 0 degrees, or 1 degree, let's take it to there, the next few years will not be affected by squares or oppositions with Pluto at this time, right? And I'll continue to cover this over the years, of course, and bring things more into focus for you. And of course, there's always other things going on in the universe. It's not just this direct effect. Pluto, at its core, likes to transform things, and it also likes to illuminate the truth, right? Yeah. All right, so it forms some lovely trines to both Gemini and Libra. Okay, so this also is going to be bringing in some beautiful energy for both those signs with regards to transformation. And I'll cover a little bit more detail in each of your signs later on in the video. But this is positive energy again for transformation. So it just, with a trine, especially with a powerful planet like Pluto that likes to transform things, it will bring to Geminis and Librans just an easier, more satisfying, I guess, energy of transformation. It'll be easier to transform whatever it is that you need to transform over those many years. All right, we'll leave it at that for Pluto. All right, so the other thing that happens, of course, we have the north nodes, which currently, as I'm making this video, are still in Taurus, and they will remain into Taurus, for a little while into 2023. They actually change signs and go into Aries, which of course is the first sign of the zodiac, on the 18th of July, 2023. So certainly this is going to affect anybody that has their own north nodes in Aries. But as a sign, of course, Aries will be at the forefront with regards to changing destiny paths at this point. And it all depends, of course, what you have in Aries. But certainly the folks that have their north nodes in Aries will be very much affected by this. And of course, the opposite sign, which is Libra, is where the south nodes will be. So both Libra and Aries will have a direct effect over the next 1.5 years, from approximately mid-July to 2023. That's how long the nodes, the transiting nodes, stay in a sign. And importantly, the nodes, different than planets, they start at 29 degrees. So there's 30 degrees in every sign, right? And so the north nodes always start at the end of a sign and then go backwards. So in July 2023, those north nodes going into Aries will start at 29 degrees and then make their way back over a 1.5 years to come up to 1 degree and 0 degrees of Aries. So certainly I'm wishing a new wonderful destiny path opening up for those folks that do have their north nodes in Aries. And don't forget, we still have Chiron in Aries too. So there may be links for some people with true healing at this time, right? In terms of changing your destiny. Yeah. And I can cover that more. As I said, this is just more of an overview for folks. All right, so when we look at any of the retrogrades that are happening in 2023, obviously there's Mercury retrogrades. We've got 3 of them going on. That's typical. We can have more than that in a year, but in this year it's 3 of them. But notably, we have a Venus retrograde that's going to be happening, and it's in Leo. Now, Venus will be in Leo starting in June 2023, right the way through the first week of September. So this really covers that whole period of the summer period, right? And the summer period in many ways, especially like August time period, which is the height of summer, is really represented by the sign of Leo too. But the other thing that Leo represents is true love. It represents children. And individually, it represents our own business. And it asks us to be our authentic self. It gives us potential opportunities for anything creative as well. But the other thing that it covers is royalty. So typically we look at Leo and royalty being covered by that sign. And so I thought from a collective level that we could see between June and September 2023 some kind of big changes and developments with regards to royalty. Now this is a Venus retrograde, so I saw this as a number of things. Certainly when we talk about royalty, a lot of times the first thing we think of is British royalty. And for sure, we already know that this is going on with King Charles. But this time period of June to September, we'll see him changing a lot of things in royalty and the crown. There will be a lot of things that he changes up that will probably be more manifested and put into effect in September 2023. I thought with this Venus, I thought this could actually be some planned changes for those royalty that actually are females at this time. So I saw that as 2 things, British royalty as well as royalty that has females prominent at this time. There may be some changes there as well. And it doesn't necessarily have to be with the monarch or the queen. There could be other women that are very much influenced in here in royalty where there will be some changes. Hopefully, all positive changes. All right, the Mercury retrogrades, the first one that we have happen in 2023 is a Mercury retrograde in Taurus. So again, we're featuring Taurus here again, right? And this is going to start on the 21st of April at 15 degrees of Taurus. And it will go direct on the 15th of May, awfully close to that Jupiter going into Taurus, right? At 5 degrees of Taurus. So this Mercury retrograde in Taurus stays in Taurus. Sometimes it changes signs, and I'll talk about that Mercury retrograde in a minute. So this could have just some of us, this could have a reconsideration on a global level regarding our money markets again, right? Foodstuffs as well. There may have to be some kind of reorganization with regards to getting foodstuffs together during this time period, April to May 2023. But certainly for Taurians, this will directly affect you as well, especially if you've got something around the 15 or 5-degree mark of Taurus. We also have a new moon, supporting this Mercury retrograde going direct. And that's going to be a few days later. The new moon in Taurus at 20. So it's just a new moon, not an eclipse. 28 degrees of Taurus happens on the 19th of May. So again, this whole time period of May 2023, I think is a big, huge time of money changes, food types things, construction, in some respects, our security of ourselves, and the earth that we live on, right, may come up for some kind of important review isn't the right word, but importance that we have to take care of, right? All right, so the next Mercury retrograde we have happen is going to be on the 23rd of August, and that will be staying in Virgo, starting at 21 degrees of Virgo, and then it'll go direct at 8 degrees of Virgo on the 15th of September. Now, classically, we have Mercury retrogrades being a little more important if the Mercury retrograde happens in a sign that rules it. And that, of course, is Virgo and Gemini. So we know that the 23rd of August right through the 15th of September 2023, that Mercury retrograde is going to be important with regards to anything to do with communications, messaging, can be contracts as well. I say with the Virgo, get all your details correct and double check anything to do with contracts and that. Should you have to be signing something, say you've taken on a new job or something, or buying a house or something, that Mercury retrograde asks you to make sure you look at the details, right? The next Mercury retrograde is going to be in Capricorn. And of course, we had a Mercury retrograde happen the end of December, or start at the end of December 2022 too. So Capricorn, you're going to be hit here again by another Mercury retrograde in 2023. That starts at 8 degrees of Capricorn on the 13th of December 2023 and goes direct, but this time it's in Sagittarius. It goes direct at 22 degrees of Sagittarius on the 2nd of January 2024. And we also have with that Mercury retrograde going direct at 22 degrees of Sagittarius being in a fire sign, it will trine the north nodes, certainly in Aries at that time. So that's the 2nd of Jan 2024. So it's interesting, we've got those two signs highlighted here towards the end of the year and early next year, 2024. So check to see, again, 8 degrees of Capricorn or 22 degrees of Sagittarius. This may actually affect you directly. Okay, I think that kind of wraps up what I have to say with regards to an introduction to 2023. Again, I want to leave this with the fact that I feel this is a very positive year for us and that we've got a lot to look forward to that's going to be positive for all of us. But especially for society as a whole healing and society as a whole having a better fairness to and for everyone. All right, so next I'm going to start with our individual signs. And because this is a start of a new year forecast. All right, Aquarius. So Aquarius, Jupiter in Aries is in your 3rd house at the beginning of 2023, and it will sextile your sign. So these are opportunities coming to either write, present, any kind of communications could be very favorably aspected for you. If there's some sales and commerce opportunities that might come up for you, this is an excellent time to move forward with that. The other thing is going to happen this year, of course, is that Jupiter will go into Taurus. And Jupiter in Taurus is going to be in your 4th house and will be squaring your sign. So it's hard to get a bad aspect with the Jupiter, so I don't see this as the end of the world. What I see is, because very much Taurus can be involved in real estate too, this could be that there will be some Aquarians that either want to buy or sell their home. And this square may just present as a few challenges to do that. And I would say, with the Jupiter here representing potentially an advisor, is take your time picking out a really good advisor that can help you either buy or sell your home, or to do something with your home, right? It could be that you have to, or you want to, remodel your home too. And that person that you want to do it may not be available, that sort of thing, and you have to work with them. So this square is more about working with some aspect with regards to a home. Now, the fourth house does represent your mother as well as your family. So there also could be some Aquarians that have to work with their mother or family for some reason. And there's challenges there, that it may not be so straightforward. I would suggest that you think outside the box as best you can, and bring in experts or people that you trust implicitly to help you out of maybe some challenging situations, if it comes to that, with regards to your family or your mother. And it could be that there's some challenges that your mother or your family has where you have to actively step in and help them out. Or that you may be a benefit to them and be able to help them at this time. Not necessarily a negative thing for you. When we look at that Mars retrograde, Mars will leave Gemini on the 25th of March, 2023. It was forming a trine with your sign and aspected the fifth house. So there may be some Aquarians that had a new love come into their life for some reason that was activated at this time. And there may have been some backwards and forward type stuff with regards to this new love relationship where maybe you were not sure about it. Or maybe this person disappeared for some reason, or had to come out of the picture for some reason, and then came back into your life as well. It's all about considering a potential love in your life. Now, the whole time period was from August 2022 all the way through 25th of March 2023, with the Mars retrograde happening in between. But the influence of Mars being in Gemini is that whole time period, a really long time period for you. So this just may have been you developing a love relationship, because that's what the fifth house can represent. It can also represent children. So there may have been some comings and goings with regards to a child or your children. It could have also been a time period for some Aquarians to set up their business. The fifth house also represents that. For other Aquarians, it could have had you doing some kind of creative project, where maybe you went over some of the details or changed up something during the Mars retrograde period. And once we enter into March, it's all systems go with regards to maybe the big reveal of some creative projects that you've been doing. Now, because it's in Gemini, we tend to think it's going to be more to do with writing, communications, documents of some sort like that, right? But the fifth house does represent creative projects. Okay, so when we look at that Venus retrograde, right? That Venus retrograde in Leo, it's going to be opposite your sign, Aquarius. So it's kind of interesting. I think during that summer time period, with Venus being in Leo, whether it's direct or retrograde, this is going to be opposite in your seventh house. So that says to me, it could bring in something to do with your partner. For those that are married, it could have something happen with regards to your partner that's featured that affects you. It could have, for other folks who are looking to get married and maybe lost the love of their life, for some Aquarians, that person's going to come back into view and you're going to have a second chance. anytime between June and September 2023. And for other folks, there just may be, for some reason, challenges with regards to a love in your life. Because Leo represents love and it rules the 5th house of love, it's hard for me to generalize the 7th house to business partnerships, to be honest. But it could. I mean, it could feature a business partnership has some issues that you have to resolve, or some discontent happens with business partnerships that you have to do some kind of toing and froing all during that time period, with it all ending and wrapping up early September 2023. So you have Pluto now entering your 1st house, Aquarius. And so this is a once in a lifetime, having transformation coming into your life. Now Pluto moves relatively slowly. So unless you have something around the 0 or 1 degree mark, it's going to be quite a few years before Pluto has a direct effect on you in your 1st house or on your ascendant. But certainly if you do, for those Aquarians that have something around 0 degrees or 1 degree of Aquarius, whether it's your ascendant, sun, moon, midheaven, you will have already been feeling this. And Pluto asks us to transform. So this is a phenomenal energy for those Aquarians that have maybe been waiting for the whole lifetime to truly transform their life, to work for them. This is it. But understand the effects of Pluto are slow. Slow, but they're permanent. So whatever changes come in for you, Aquarius, between now and 2044, these will be permanent changes for you. Pluto, when it goes over something or introduces transformation or change, it's a permanent effect. The door's permanently closed for your benefit. Don't forget that. But this, if you want to have an image, Pluto in the 1st house, Pluto over the ascendant, is that image of that caterpillar turning into a butterfly. So if you can remember that image as you go through having Pluto being hosted in your 1st house, Aquarius, I think that will really help you. And certainly seek out things, people, places, events that do transform you. Welcome those things coming in. This can also bring in people of power as important for you. Certainly with Pluto in your 1st house, you do not want to step outside the law. And if you are approached by anyone that has power, you should respond in an appropriate way. But this could also bring power to you, Aquarius. And of course, that saying of, be careful with that power that you have, that you wield over other people. This could bring a very powerful position for some Aquarians. But use your power wisely. All right, when we look at all those things happening in Taurus, Taurus squares your sign. And it squares your sign, and the 4th house is aspected here. So certainly there's going to be some Taurians, not Taurians, but the effect of this Taurus square with your 4th house. It'll have some Aquarians having to decide to leave the home that they're in, or leave the situation. So there may be some Aquarians that maybe you're living with your family or living with your mother. And you just decide or get the opportunity to change that up. That maybe the challenges there are too much for you. And I would say probably in the May time period, there may be some unique opportunities for some Aquarians to maybe get their own house. Notwithstanding, you may still have challenges doing that. But I get the feeling of you letting go of a situation to do with the 4th house in order for you to embrace something in a 4th house related thing. Always think outside the box. Always take other people into consideration when you're dealing with this type of thing. But may be some kind of turnaround month that you make some big changes with regards to your home, your mother, or your family. The Mars retrograde for Aquarians forms a trine with your signs. That's lovely, favorable energy, and it aspects your 5th house. So there may have been some Aquarians that met a true love, and that the whole Mars time period in Gemini, which was from August 2022 right the way through the 25th of March 2023, that you developed a love relationship of some sort. For others, this may have been a time of pregnancy where you got pregnant and you actually have, you manifest this wonderful child in your life. For others, 5th house can be starting your own business. So you will get favorable energy here, Aquarius, for you to start up your own business. And especially the 5th house asks you to be your authentic self. So if you are being given opportunities, depending when you're listening to this, especially early on in 2023, you may be given unique opportunities to start up your own business. Be a great way to use this energy, where maybe March marks the time period where you officially start your business, right? That would be an awesome way to use this. But certainly you'll be feeling more energy to express yourself. The 5th house is also your authentic self. So you will be given opportunities to do that. Now, there may be some frustrations for some Aquarians where you just don't feel you can express who you want to express. Maybe especially through writing, for those Aquarians that are involved with writing of some sort, or maybe even messaging, right? And you just have had frustrations regarding either doing it or having people accept it. You know, just keep at it. Just keep at it. And know that March should mark a time period where things get a green light and you can move forward, maybe with a writing project of some sort. Certainly with that Jupiter and Aries aspecting your 3rd house with a sextile, you're going to be given lots of opportunities to improve your communications, period, in whatever aspect you want to do that, right? When we look at your new moon, we have your new moon on the 21st of January at 1 degree of Aquarius. So if you've got something around the 1 degree mark, let's say 0, 1 degree, or 2 degrees of Aquarius, that new moon could be significant for you, right? All right, everybody, that wraps up this video. Thank you for listening. I want to thank all my viewers, both my viewers as well as my listeners on Spotify. I really appreciate all your support by coming to my channels. It makes a big difference in what I can give and do for you. But I want to put out a special thanks for my clients all this year. You've made a difference to me making better videos. I've been able to purchase better equipment to bring a better quality of video to you. Hopefully you've noticed that. All right, I'm wishing everyone a great 2023. I'm very optimistic for it. A lot of things are going to be cleared up and a lot of things being put in place that'll benefit all of us. If you want your chart done, of course, I would love to do it. It's an ideal time to do it, end of the year or the beginning of the next year. Bye for now, everybody. Sending you lots of love and lots of positive energy for a great 2023. Bye for now.